Welcome to another session of National Education Policy 2020 under the aegis of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Middle East. Today, we are going to discuss Foundational Literacy and Numeracy under the NEP 2020. I am Meenakshi Nair, Vice Principal Bhavans Kuwait, and I have with me Ms. Munira Mamikutti, Headmistress of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Kuwait. The NEP 2020 in India emphasizes foundational literacy and numeracy as the crucial aspect of early childhood education. It recognizes that building a strong foundation in literacy and numeracy skills during the early years of education is essential for lifelong learning and cognitive development. Before we dwell into foundational literacy and numeracy, let's understand the most crucial part of human development, early childhood. Early childhood, birth to 8 years, is a critical period of development and early literacy. Early childhood is a critical period of development, and early literacy and numeracy are two important skills areas that develop during this period. Literacy and numeracy development begins in the first 3 years of life and is closely linked with daily communications and actions through drawing of young children. Parents and home learning environment and interactions of young children with literacy materials as books, papers, crayons are the building blocks of building early literacy and numeracy skills. This understanding of early literacy development complements the current research supporting the critical role of early experiences in shaping the brain development. 90% of the brain development takes place by the age of 5. 90% of the brain development takes place by the age of 5. So what is fed into children and the exposure they get at this age is very important.
Yes, Meenakshi, that is why we say that at this age, we should be careful about the kind of people they interact with. Whom are you leaving the children, under whose care, and what are they learning from them? And I constantly tell parents not to give children mobile as a toy, because I've seen this, the repercussions of that in the classrooms today. How children are different today. They are very hyperactive. We say children are hyperactive now. Why? Because they're used to these mobiles, the fast mobiles, the reels that they see on the mobiles.
That's because their energy is not being utilized.
Yes.
They're sitting at one place and looking at so many things, getting involved. And it is so very difficult, I feel, Munira, for parents who are working in the date of today to handle this early childhood care and education. So what is early childhood care and education, Munira?
Yes, Meenakshi, as you may be aware that if you have observed children, the toddlers, the young, from birth to the toddler age, how curious they are, how they are interested in everything around them.
True.
And they learn through their surroundings by imitation, and they observe people. They're keen observers, they're curious, they want to know things.
They want to touch everything.
That is sensorial capabilities. They learn through their sensorial capabilities, their surroundings. All these are the building blocks on which they will base their future learning. So early childhood care and education should be given a lot of importance. And these hands-on experiences that they get, the observations, the experimentation, this will help them build a strong foundation for learning in later years.
So here comes the very important role of pre-nursery schools or the nursery schools and even the play schools. And I feel even the maids in whose care we are leaving our children.
Yes.
So what is the role of school, nursery or the nursery educators over here?
Yes, we talk about children learning from the surroundings. We talk about their sensorial learning. But they also learn in context with the relationships with adults.
Yeah.
So it is very important that they get good facilitators, teachers, and knowledgeable peers who can lead them from one developmental stage to the next. The transition from from the developmental stages should be seamless, and that can be done if you have good educators. So that is where the role of the school comes in, where we can have a very structured curriculum, not a very formal one, but a structured curriculum, which through which they can learn, and educators or teachers who can understand, yes, this child is ready for the next stage. So according to that, they will give them tasks and activities through which they build their learning.
So it is very important to have trained educators,
Yes.
trained caretakers for the children in that age.
And it's even more important today rather than our yesteryears, because we had our mothers at home.
True.
Now you don't have your mothers at home. The mothers are working.
Yeah.
So you need somebody knowledgeable, somebody who knows how to take care of the children and how to take care of their skills, develop their skills.
I can really understand the role played by our grandparents and the role of the joint family in upbringing of these small children.
Exactly. That is not there today. So we need formal school setup where the children can be taken care of and where development in literacy and numeracy can happen.
So may I ask Munira, why should literacy and numeracy be initiated during the early period of learning? Is it important or they just can learn from their surroundings only?
Now, when we talk about early literacy and numeracy, we are not just talking about concepts being learned. The foundation that you get in early literacy and numeracy are help the children develop in various other forms. Their cognitive development, their social development, all these are important, right? Later in life, if they have to converse with others, communicate with people, they need strong literacy skills, literary skills. At the same time, they need strong computational skills to get them along and to help them understand the other languages and the other sciences. So that is where early literacy and numeracy should be initiated in the early period. And opportunities should be given to children to ask questions, to raise questions, to experiment, to explore. You must have seen some children, when they're toddlers, they're very curious, very bubbly. Suddenly they become very quiet. They stop asking questions.
That happens.
They stop conversing with people. Why?
True.
Because we are nipping them in the bud. The opportunities that they should have got at the early period, they do not get. Then obviously they stop talking.
But at this point, I can really feel the devastating impact that the mobile phones have on the kids, children,
exactly.
because there so many capabilities are being glued to the screen without getting any satisfaction of numeracy or literacy, and they're not utilizing their energy also.
Have you seen many of the children don't make eye contact now?
Yes.
Because
Especially in the smaller class, even in the middle and senior classes.
In the kindergarten, yes, we do have, but as they grow, they stop looking, they look down, or they're always slouching.
And it is more pronounced after the COVID period.
Yes. The impact of COVID was terrible. And the children that come in now, to the parents themselves have disclosed to me that they were left in the care of the maids for hours on end with just the mobile. And maybe they were watching things that they shouldn't have been watching at that age. And we can clearly make out the difference between the children earlier and the children that we get now. So as educators, our big role now is to wean them away from these things. Otherwise, that will impede their growth, especially their cognitive growth.
So is that why the fresh impetus has been given to FLN in NEP 2020?
Exactly. Even our earlier policies, they did address early childhood care and education, early childhood care and education. For example, the Kothari Commission, 1964 to 68, then the NPE 1968 and NPE 1986. They all had given great importance to early childhood learning. Not so much into literacy and numeracy, but yes, ECCE was addressed. But then where they failed was they did not have a proper curriculum. Now there are two reasons why they failed. Though we had Anganwadis and Balawadis coming up across the country, training programs happening over there, but these children were just kept over there in these Anganwadis and Balawadis. They had they were taken care of, well taken, and midday meal was also provided.
They were fed.
They were fed well. They were taken care of. They had social interactions, but you can't say that they had any strong literacy and numeracy foundation there.
Because structured curriculum was not
There
there.
was no structured curriculum and no pedagogical framework for early period of
So
learning.
what impact has it on our children of that particular
yes.
age?
So the dropouts that you see, I'm not talking about urban areas. Urban children
Have got access to
are
schooling, yes.
privileged. They had
Yeah.
good schools. They had the Montessori system. They could go to a Montessori play school and all those things. But then the rural children, that is where the the major chunk of our population resides, right? But those children were really deprived of good foundation literacy and numeracy, and the result was dropouts. And what happened after the dropouts? What happened to these dropouts? This in turn led to so many vices in the society.
Yes, of course.
So all these drug addiction, all these things, you know.
Yeah.
Boys,
Unable to get employment.
Boys at a very young age, boys went into becoming auto rickshaw drivers. Girls became, either they were married off very early, or they became domestic help. Again, you know, all those kind of flesh trade, all these vices crept up in the society because children were not engaged well
In the foundational,
in the foundational stage.
How important it is to take care of our children in the foundational stage is very evident from our discussion.